Good morning, everybody, and welcome along to a fantastic scene and a brilliant day as we start a new history chapter for the Circuit de la Sarthe and Le Mans and endurance racing, because for the first time ever we have the Le Mans Classic Legend event here in 2026. Le Mans Classic becomes an annual race weekend. It will be back to heritage next weekend, but for now we are concentrating over the next 2 days on some of the cars that we've never seen here before. Some we have, but they've been integrated into full plateaus, full grids, rather than being invitational classes. And we've got some brand new cars for you to see as well in terms of the Le Mans Classic. But of course they all have a heritage that involves the Grand Prix d'Endurance here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. A very good morning from Bruce Jones, from Andrew Marriott, and from me, John Hindhaugh. As you can see, the weather is glorious, and as you can also see, and if you were with us for the Le Mans 24 Hours earlier in the year, in mid-June, there's not been a lot of rain since then. It has been absolutely scorching weather. In fact, speaking to our French families and friends in the area of the Le Mans circuit, if we had to have the Le Mans 24 Hours the following weekend to when it happened, it probably wouldn't have happened. The temperatures were up in the 40s Celsius, and in the sunshine it was over 50. It's been an incredible dry and hot spell. We've got for you a couple of sessions today, and then a longer session for you tomorrow that will bring you a taste of everything that is here. We're on the full 8.5 mile circuit, and at the moment the sunshine is still, or the sun is still rising behind the grandstand on the classic front straight. A temperature today of somewhere between 32, 33 degrees Celsius, well up into the late 80s, early 90s in the Fahrenheit scale. There are, despite the empty grandstands at the moment, a lot of people here, and a lot of British people here as well. When we drove down in our BMW M5 Touring, thanks to BMW UK, who are a partner, BMW partner of this event, and lots of lovely BMWs running VIPs around, we were inundated with British cars on the way down the péage. So something new for us to get our teeth into. Bruce, this is the first time that we've had a change in the format for Le Mans Classic since its inception a quarter of a century ago, and such has been the demand and the rise of historic and classic racing that it has warranted making this effectively a separate event.
We've moved closer to time. People get older, cars get older, and the fans become younger. Let's paraphrase that. Basically, we need some more modern machinery to slot on the end of what we've had before here at the Le Mans Classic. And this year has been the first full year in which GT3 is considered a historic category, which comes as a bit of a shock to some drivers who aren't yet 40 years old, and they go, I raced in that at the start of my career. But the grids are enormous, been one of the global successes. Anywhere in the world there seems to be a GT3 championship of some sort, and of course it's the subjunct to the hypercars in the Le Mans 24 Hours in the World Championship. So that will be the first race that kicks off today, and that will be coming fairly soon indeed. But the scene is set.
41 cars in that plateau, on that grid, that we'll see in a few moments' time for that particular race. Andrew, that is not all that's new. We've still got some invitational classes as well, of which more as the day progresses. There'll be a lot of people staying up late in the United States for the return of NASCAR to Le Mans and the Circuit de la Sarthe 50 years after two cars were sent over here. We've got a splendid grid courtesy of IMSA's HSR coming later on today. We'll have two of their races over the weekend. What I really like, though, is that us who are used to what's been happening in the past, the numbers of the grid, the plateau numbers that we have here, coincide. They have remained the same from what it would have been had we put it all together in previous years.
Absolutely right. Now we've got 5 of the plateaus here. They race 3 times over the 24 hours. They get 3 45-minute races, and it's all about the aggregate. It's not about putting in 1 good race or even winning 2. It's about having 3 good races, a bit like golf. You've got to have 4
3
good
rounds. Yeah, absolutely.
It's all about that, and things happen in the night. So that's very interesting. We'll be following all that, and of course also we've got 5 plateaus. Last year we had 6. Plateau 6 has moved up into this more modern section. It's all very generational, this, isn't it? Look, when I was a kid and I followed Le Mans, my hero cars were Jaguar D-Tubs.
Yep.
Now, next year, you're going to be able to see those racing.
So next year, it's plateaus 1 to 5 are back, with some invitational classes as well.
Exactly. And here we've got... Basically, the split is at about 1974, 1975, and we're going all the way up to cars that are only 12 or 13 years old. I mean, in the top Plateau 10, we're going to see some sensational machines. We're going to see those Peugeot diesels, which won here. We're going to see the Lola Aston Martins, which make a stunning noise. So just interest all the way along. But I think it's a great thing to do to move up these generations. As I said, I like D-types, but of course, other people, you know, GT40 was the big thing for them. And then for you, John, you first came
Porsches and looking at the Silk-Cut Jaguars and those cars going through the late 80s into the early 90s. The format hasn't changed in 25 years, so adding those on. So the plateaus that we talk about today, when we talk about plateaus, that's the French word for grid, effectively. So 7, 8, 9 and 10 are the brand new plateaus. 6 we've seen here before in the traditional version of this event.
And they've done something very clever. Of course, they've made Group C, which was always one of the most successful groups, invitational races, if you will, has become a group. Now, at the moment, there's not so... 6, 8 years ago here, there was maybe 30 Group C cars racing and maybe 5 or 6 Jaguars. They all seem to have been parked at the moment, but still, here we've got the best Group C grid of the year. We're coming up now. We're going to start with this GT3 race. This revival section of the cars that started, of course, 20 years ago. This is the biggest grid of these cars that's ever been seen, I think.
The other thing we should mention, Bruce, is that you and I and Andrew, for a couple of seasons, have been working with Peter Auto at their events during the year.
Yes.
This year, Bruce, it is the Le Mans Classic Series. There is actually a championship for most of the grids, most of the cars that we'll see out here and the drivers and teams that we'll see out here. And they've thrown themselves into it as if it was a contemporary championship, because indeed it is a championship.
No, it really is. And a lot of the owner drivers are lucky enough to have cars for various of the categories within the Le Mans Classic Series. So they're quite busy people jumping from Parc Fermé to collect a formation area and going out onto the track. But for me, GT3 has always been a really, really strong category. I've worked in it for a long time with the Blancpain GT Series and then the GT World Challenge, and a lot of these cars, they suddenly sort of strike a chord, and for a lot of people just strange things like, oh, look at the gull wing doors on those Mercedes AMG SLSs and so on, and the engine notes that you've forgotten. But to find this as a historic category, well, time does move on, but it's the ones we've seen already this season. We saw them have a fantastic couple of races at Spa-Francorchamps, another hot race meeting, but the point is well made, John. It's the Le Mans Classic Series across the entire season. Still got some fantastic rounds to come in Paul Ricard, in Estoril, in Imola. But of course, some people particularly want to race at Le Mans. There's an R Motorsport Aston Martin, reinvigorated, back racing again. But I tell you what, let us head down to get the feel of the pit lane. And our man who will be doing the hard kilometres in the heat, his name is Vincent Frasson, and he will introduce himself right now.
Mesdames, Mesdemoiselles, Messieurs, bonjour, bienvenue sur le circuit des 24 heures du Mans, Le Mans Classic Legend, nouveau concept bien sûr. Bien, on ne va pas changer les habitudes au niveau de Peterotto et de la Le Mans Classic Series. On va se retrouver sur l'ensemble du week-end ici dans la pit lane. On va tout vous expliquer sur ce qui se passe, les voitures qui ont des problèmes, pourquoi elles ont des problèmes, les commentaires des pilotes, comment ça se passe sur ce circuit des 24 heures bien évidemment. Vous saurez tout, maximum d'interviews et maximum d'informations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the circuit of the 24 hours of Le Mans. As usual, by Peterotto for the Le Mans Classic Series. We'll be in the pits during the whole weekend, doing many interviews, of course. You will know everything about the cars, about some problems with some cars, of course, and I think that it will be absolutely great.
Well, thanks very much, Vincent. He really does get his man. He's a great pits reporter, so we look forward to those interviews. This is a 50-minute race coming up, one pit stop. 6 of the drivers, or the team drivers, are considered pros, and we think that they will be stopping longer in the pits, so we have to factor that in.
Yeah,
why some of the pros are pros and some of the AMs are not pros, I'm not quite sure, but we won't go into that any further.
It is a standard practice, isn't it, Bruce, to balance out. We talk about balance of performance in GT3 a lot, and in racing around the world. The balance of performance here is also applied to the drivers to make it a little more of a level playing field. It also makes it more entertaining for us to see some of the pros having to drive back through the field, Bruce.
Well, let's take a look at the grid here. We've got a Ferrari on pole position, Jean-Luc Bobelic alongside Heiko Neumann, BMW, in a Mercedes. Then moving on down, this is row 3, Phil Quaife. Look for him going forward, and Will Nuttall, who shares with Stefan Jobstal. A couple of Ferraris on row number 4, Benjamin Ricci in one of them. And 4 GTs, they always caught the eye. Philippe Gioc is the better placed of those, and they look fantastic. BMW Z4s, they were always very popular. Made the best sound in the entire paddock in the early days of GT3 racing. There's the second Ford. Celia Martin, all-female crew, car number 40. Look out for that.
And of course, her Iron Dame's teammate, Rahel Fry, drove that car in period, or at least a car like that in period.
Yeah, for the Maytech team. Yeah. Lamborghinis often catch the eye, but a lot of people here, particularly the British fans, they do like the Aston Martins. Plenty of those. Janos Santa down around mid-grid. Quite a few drivers up from the Southern Hemisphere as well. So look out for those. They make an entire, well, their winter, our summer. They come and race at Spa, they come and race here. What's not to like? Nice
to see some of the names from the period as well. Tony Seiler is back. We'll see him in some of the Porsche races earlier on. It was Jonathan Mitchell and Alvaro Parent on row 2. And Dario Franchitti in the Ferrari was hoping for a Le Mans entry actually this year and got onto the reserve list. He'll be starting on row 4 in the number 92 Pro-Am Ferrari 458 GT3 Evo. And still they come. 41 cars on this grid in the early morning light, which looks absolutely glorious. We drove our BMW Touring around the track on Thursday when we arrived. It is a mark of how little precipitation there has been, Andrew, that quite a lot of the rubber from the Le Mans 24 hours was still laid on the track, and indeed some of the witness marks down towards Indianapolis.
Oh, Porsche curves. We saw that.
We saw those. One at Porsche curves.
Yeah, the swapped end had gone into the barrier. You could still see where the car had gone into the barrier. But yes, I mean, this track has already had a bit of rubber down this morning because I was out there a few moments ago and there was about 1,000 people got to drive their cars around. You can actually buy to drive the track before the start of the racing, and there was all sorts of interesting machines there. Nearly most of them were French, but there was a lot of British, and strange enough, not many other nationalities. Only a couple of German people have come for this, but this is huge for the British fans.
Aside from what we'll see on the track, if you're thinking to yourself, I really should have been here, the answer is yes, you really should have been here, because aside from what goes on the track, Bruce, this is probably the biggest car club show in France and possibly the world.
I would think so. There are so many, and yesterday I was absolutely gutted. I couldn't find time to go and see the club for the law enforcement cars, the American law enforcement cars of northern France. John was itching to get up there. But most of those cars will get out onto the track at some stage.
Yes.
But they literally, every group appears to have 50 cars. It's absolutely phenomenal.
I didn't have time to look at the Turners. There's about 8 Turners. I own a Turner. You probably don't even know what it is.
I do.
But 8 of those cars from Wolverhampton originally.
I don't know how Darren had the time to build them, to be honest. All his
He did, of course. Darren Turner got a Turner because I told him about Turner sports cars. He'd no idea before that. And he raced it very successfully at Goodwood for a while. He sold it now.
So coming around the final part of the circuit under clear blue skies, this might be the nicest conditions actually for driving. It's going to get extremely hot later on today as the Jean-Luc Bourbelic comes round. He is effectively the safety car when the BMW Touring pulls in. Heike Neumann in the Mercedes. Lovely to see the Mercedes back again. It's an absolutely classic shape. I saw one on the road the other day, and I wasn't particularly enamoured of them in period, but this one was a dark red colour, and I thought, ooh, how did I not like those in period? They look fantastic. The R8, which has always looked great and looks even, I think, looks even better now than it did in period. And of course, the little Aston Martin Vantage, the 007, the blue car. That's Jonathan Mitchell. With the V12 engine. The BMW Touring will pull off to one side as it comes through the first part of the Porsche curves, and then we'll let them go. Watch out for Phil Quaife in the 997 GT3R. That's the darker coloured car a little bit further back. And Dario Franchitti will be right in there as well in the Pastorelli Classic Cars 458 GT3 Evo Ferrari. Stand by for action, ladies and gentlemen. Our first race in the new era, the Le Mans Classic Legends for 2026, the GT3 Revival. 41 cars coming to the line as the lights go out and we are racing at Les Arts. 50 minutes on the clock as they come up to the first corner, and already from row number 3, Phil Quaife is trying to make a move down the inside in the Porsche as they go up to the Dunlop curve and under the Goodyear Bridge. And yes, that is the right two names for that. And we've already had a spinner. It's one of the Audis from the midfield, and there was a clash partly in that midfield there, but the pole sitter has been usurped. And it's Heiko Neumann who leads down through the Forest S's for the first time, Bruce.
I kept my eyes on Jonathan Mitchell in that V12 Vantage. I thought he'd make a move. He's gone from 4th into 2nd. There he is, 007. And Alvaro Parent in that leopard livery Audi has gone back one position to 4th overall. Here's our spinners. Spinners aren't winners. And you can see
Christoph von Oenhuizen in the number 45 Audi, the lighter coloured car. He started in 14th position, I think.
Yeah, that's a father and son outfit, that, and they have had quite a lot of success with that car, so that's a big no-no for them. But Mitchell's one of the men to watch for. Our pole sitter, the guy who set the time, Jerome Policand, will get in 2nd. About half the field have got a 2nd driver, and the rest, of course, driving singly.
Heck of a start by the Porsche of Phil Quaife. We thought he'd be quick, but he's right up there hassling the leaders. I apologise if it was the 46, not the 45, so it was the Pyro Motorsport.
Yes.
Jeff Smith's
Audi car. The Oenhuizens are in a BMW.
Oh, are they in a BMW?
What's happened is that our pole starter, Jean-Luc Bobelic, who's sharing with Jerome Policon, as you mentioned, he's dropped back to about 5th position. But he's been driving these cars since GT3. Well, he started in 2011 in GT3. He's almost always been in Ferrari, so he's been caught out. But Heiko Neumann races a lot with the Gullwing, but he's about to be passed. Jonathan Mitchell's fallen back to 3rd place. Alvaro Parent is right under his rear wing in that black and aquamarine car, but the moves are coming. So the first 5 have really made a break, and with Jeff Smith having that spin from around 10th or 12th place in the order, you know, the rest of the pack has been pulled further back, but this is classic Le Mans slipstreaming.
And the Lamborghini Gallardo LP 600, the Anderson Racing Team, Marcus Anderson, was, I think, the car that made contact with the Audi. That has been pulled to a safe position as there's a battle for the lead and a spun Corvette.
That's the Moser Seiler, a couple of Seiler Racing runs a couple of the Corvettes. This is the white and silver one, unfortunately going nowhere faster. But look, this is a diamond formation of our top 4 with Heiko Neumann in his SLS just in front.
Donny Henry in the Scott Sport number 15 Callaway. It's of course Corvette officially weren't building GT3 cars at that stage. Side by side for the lead then. Down through Indianapolis, that highly banked left-hand corner, easy to forget until you actually take a road car around there, what it's like. Then onto the short chute, down to Arnage, which is now not part of the public road, and we're still covered in tyre detritus from the Le Mans 24 Hours when we were down there on Thursday. One of my favourite spots, up over the rise and now climbing gently into the Porsche curves, and the big engine of the Mercedes AMG turning right-handed into there. Oh good, the refuge truck that was stuck in the gravel there on Thursday night has been moved. I think it probably only got out of there yesterday, so I think it was so buried deep into it. And here comes the Audi in that almost Leighton House flash colours, isn't it? It reminds you of that Miami blue that they used to run in, which isn't blue at all, of course. And then just lurking in the background, Andrew, the Porsche of Phil Quaife.
Yeah, Phil's certainly a man to watch for. He's been racing for 20 years, fully pro, comes from a family of racers. They even built their own GT car at one time, about 20 years ago. And I think Quaife's one to watch for. I think Mitchell's definitely a man to watch for also. But that Mercedes at the front is going so well, isn't it?
It's got the grunt on the straights. It has the ponies.
Yeah, it's it's run by Motor Park, who usually run Formula 3 cars. But I think we're in a position to go right down to the pit lane and get our first interview.
Voilà. Eh bien Vincent, effectivement, sur la piste avec Tony Seiler. J'espère qu'on va pouvoir le retrouver. Voilà. Tony Seiler, one with you, Tony. How is it to be on the Le Mans racetrack with a Callaway Corvette?
It's very nice races for the new series, GT3. I'm very happy. It's very well for drive here in Le Mans with the Corvette. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you.
What about the driving condition this morning? It's going to be a very sunny weekend. I imagine that's the best conditions to drive.
Yes, it's very beautiful. We have air, many air in the we have more power. It's fantastic weather. Yes.
Thank you very much, Tony Seiler. Voilà, qui pilote en effet une Callaway Corvette qui était 28e sur la grille de départ, mais l'essentiel c'est bien de participer. Très content bien sûr d'être là et de savoir que les conditions de roulage grâce à la météo sont effectivement très bonnes.
The voice of the PA here at Le Mans, Bruno van der Stig, with us again this weekend. Nasty moment for Pierre Hershey in the CMR BMW Z4 GT3. The blue and white number 30 car was just outside the top 20 and did that thing we saw so much at the Le Mans 24, just understeering over the top of the rise before diving into the Red Hill Turf Rouge, Bruce.
It had just become an epidemic. We used to one or two per event, but it became very, very fashionable in June here at Le Mans and still is right now. What we're getting, though, the lead quartet is about to become a quintet. We've still got a Ferrari hanging on the back, but a second Ferrari is coming in the mix, Benjamin Ricci. And by the way, our pole starter fell down from 1st to 13th, Jean-Luc Bobelic. But this lead quartet, again, right, let's talk about the different cars in this group. We've got a Mercedes, from an Audi, from a Porsche, from an Aston Martin. We talked about balanced performance, and the idea all the time in GT3 was that every manufacturer involved, their car should be capable of an identical lap type. They won't deliver it identically around the point of a circuit, and maybe there's some slight artificiality, but the fact was at a certain point you had 13 different manufacturers. We were talking about this as we walked the car in the days when you had the cars that were less likely to be there, the Bentley Continental. That was balanced performance into the mix to be against a car that was far smaller, like the Ferrari 458 Italia, and so on and so forth. And that has been one of the rich elements in this series, the category. And always just remember, the AM as well as the pros are very important. Oh dear, that's
Lambo.
Lambo, that's probably Craig Wilkins' car. Yes, it is, number 8. He's been going really well for Scott Speed. Has had a great run at Donington. Other cars in the pits long before they should be.
Had big problems during qualifying and started at the back of the field. So not sure, that obviously has reared its ugly head again, but great racing now. Look at the second place under challenge now.
That was the Schumacher IMSA 997 GT3R, I think, Michel Etuati. In the number 76 car, and we've also lost the Phantom Racing legend Aston which was Pascal Uto into the pits earlier on as well.
This racing on track is every bit as good as when it was contemporary.
Absolutely.
And that is a real accolade for a historic category, because it takes a while for drivers to get accustomed to these cars. A lot of these drivers did drive them in period, but this is just perfect for GT3, for any form of historic racing, to have 4 cars nose to tail, 4 different types of cars. And this is far from finished. As Andrew pointed out, it's a 50-minute race with a pit stop in the middle. This will jumble the order.
2 front-engine cars and 2 rear-engine cars as well.
Well, yeah, a front, a mid, and a rear, in fairness.
Just going back to the Tony Seiler interview, you might have noticed he's got the Shadow Formula 1 team on his race suit. He does race historic Formula 1 cars. Tony had been racing for 40 years, runs a big body shop in Switzerland, and he's been very good in Lola T70s, had a lot of success in Lola 70 GTs. Nice to hear from Tony.
Yeah, and also, of course, he runs, talking earlier about the Le Mans Classic Series, he runs a couple of Lola T70s across the season in that as well. So very, very, very busy people. Why retire when you can keep racing?
And here's the battle for the lead again, coming out of Tertre Rouge, the Red Hill, side by side, AMG and Porsche, Team Motor Park and Endless. Let's see if that big front engine or front mid-engine Mercedes has still got the horsepower. Phil Quaife pulled out very, very early and he's now got the front of that 997 GT3R in the air, pushing through towards the first chicane, and he can't make it happen. The Audi sits there, but the Mercedes, the AMG, punches out of the corners so well. Phil's right up underneath the back of that Silver Arrows now as they're on the middle section of the Ligne Droite Onadier, the Mulsanne Straight. There is a Porsche behind there, I promise you, and behind that Alvaro Parent is just watching carefully in the Audi. Here comes Phil, he's on the left-hand side, driver's left-hand side, but he can't get there, he can't get there, he can't get there. He gave it a go, he got up to the quarter panel. This is magnificent stuff, and we've still got 40 minutes to go.
Yeah, and Benjamin Ricci's about to make it a quintet. He's the fastest driver on the track in the Ferrari. He passed Dario Franchitti, he gained that 5th place. Franchitti's about a second, he's about to come from behind the graphic. No, he's probably 2 seconds down. He's falling back, he's in the red Ferrari with the white and green stripe. He's being caught by Will Nuttall, so accustomed to seeing Will in sort of a early 1960s Coopers and late 1950 Coopers, but he's racing with Stefan Jubstal. He is a fantastic racer. Must be just so interesting for him to sort of vault forward effectively 40, 50 years and try modern machinery.
Must be the most modern car he's raced. He's won so many races in that Cooper, prepared by his family business.
That racing. Ferrari is coming up like the clappers.
Down the inside.
Absolutely incredible. Caught the leading 4 and immediately goes up into 4th position. We'll keep an eye on the racing on the track, but problems early on for some of the cars. Let's check in on the pit lane.
Oui, pas très près en effet de l'Aston Martin numéro 62 avec Franz van der Leyen, avec Pascal Uto. Pascal Uto, l'Aston Martin numéro 62 s'est arrêté là juste tout près de nous. Malheureusement, vous n'avez pas pu prendre le volant. Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé?
Avec le cumul des 2 qualifs hier, en fait, ça nous plaçait sur une bonne place sur la ligne de départ pour aujourd'hui. Donc il y avait pas mal de mecs rapides forcément qui étaient devant, et je pense que voilà, Franz a dû se prendre un petit jeton avec une autre voiture, et malheureusement il a ressenti des vibrations sur la caisse. Donc voilà, on préfère arrêter plutôt que qu'il y ait une pièce mécanique qui casse et puis que ça soit pire pour la suite, quoi. Donc maintenant on verra demain, quoi.
Voilà, merci beaucoup Pascal Uto, vous connaissez tout maintenant du motif de l'arrêt de l'Aston Martin numéro 62, et c'est bien dommage puisque c'est une voiture qui, rappelons-le, avait décroché le 9e temps en qualification.
Bad luck for them with that problem earlier on. That was the 62 car, the 62 Vantage we were talking about early on. Now big changes and a slight mistake there from the Jonathan Mitchell driven Scott Sport Aston Martin V12, the blue car in 3rd. But that 4th place Ferrari has come through so quickly, and we've lost one of the leading runners, Bruce.
Yeah, we've lost Phil Quaife, the one who was looking most likely. He was the one in his Porsche, the Team Tyson car from a period that was challenging that Mercedes at the front, and a real shame for Phil. Car run by Duncan McKellar, and it was the Endless team. See, a lot of these cars are even raced in Japan, you see, so you got this global spread of GT3 cars, and Tyson often used to come over Le Mans. There's the yellow Ferrari that Will Nuttall is showing such good form. He just moved ahead of Dario Franchitti.
Phil Quiff has got that Porsche back to the pitch, the dark blue car, but he's dropped outside of the top 10 now in that number 91 Porsche 997, as the leading 4, as it is back to now, continues on. This is a timed race. They're on lap 4 at the moment. There's the Endless car in the pit lane with the louvres over the front wheels. The Team Taizan machine looks absolutely quality. Love to see the drivers' names, the old drivers' names on them as well. When we were walking around the paddocks yesterday in the sunshine, it was a bit of a trip down memory lane for us, Bruce, wasn't it? As we were looking at the names of the original drivers, and I like to see that on the cars. But let's see if we can work out what happened in the middle of the pack with that Audi at the. Oh, we got a nudge from behind from one of the BMWs.
Yeah,
that might have been the BMW 45 actually, because they started together.
I think so. And basically, four abreast into a corner tends not to work. Right, that was a very tidy start. Bar that. Frankly, with the field of 41 starters, you're going to have some little bit of a conflagration. But this is the battle for 5th place. So now we've got 2 Ferraris, but we've got Dario Franchitti in the red one behind. But importantly for Will Nuttall and his teammate Stephanie Upstill, the DHL livery car has gone through into 5th, but they are falling away from the breakaway pack. And the breakaway pack still headed by the Mercedes breakaway pack. It's the lead pack. Heiko Neumann's still in front. But my money in that group is still on Jonathan Mitchell across the course of 50 minutes in the Aston.
I suppose for younger listeners, we should say that Dario Franchitti is the Indy 500 IndyCar champion.
Good point.
Then injured his back racing and was told he shouldn't have a race again, and then he sort of slowly got back into historic racing. See him at Goodwood winning races now. He's great to have Dario here, and he's a wonderful guy and a huge historian on motor racing. He must be loving racing that Ferrari. You talked about
Jim Clark fan and has a whole load of very impressive Jim Clark memorabilia at his place. Raced in the Dubai 24 Hours in GT3 earlier this year, and as I mentioned earlier on, was part of a team that applied for a slot, and he was going to drive here at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in a contemporary GT3 car. That Dubai 24 Hours was a practice run, if you like, for that. They got onto the reserve list, but didn't get selected by the invitation committee.
John, you talked about the old liveries and all our yesterdays. Look at that blue Aston Martin. That reminds you of something. That's a car that raced in America. TRG, Kevin Buckler's team, remember they were the official Aston Martin owners. That's a car raced by James Davison in period.
Kevin Buckler, the Racers Group up at
Sonoma, where they also have a huge winery now.
And Kevin Buckler's wine has been getting better and better and better, and the covers for the corks, and slightly blasphemous talking about California wine whilst we're at the top of the Loire Valley, which produces some fantastic wines, and we had some nice sheen on Thursday night, Cabernet Franc. Anyway, I digress, but Kevin Buckler, the cover on the cork is in the shape of a Porsche Guillenot.
Yes,
his bottles of wine.
And the labels are often motor racing themed.
Absolutely.
Yes, and Kevin himself has been on the podium here at Le Mans in the 24-hour race. Mainly a Porsche man, but he had that year with Aston Martin, and that is one of the cars that came over and now run by Aaron Scott and his team. They're running 10 cars here this weekend.
Yeah, it's lovely to see the expansion of historic racing. Unfortunately, there is a Ferrari where it didn't ought to be, effectively.
That's another car that raced in America, isn't that?
Yeah, and by the way, just put some more names in the patch. Christopher Newgard, the Danish Aston Martin racer, raced that 007 Aston Martin.
I think that was the 556.
Yeah.
Erwin France car.
Yeah.
That's the 458 Italia, number 556 in the invitational class.
Yeah, that's another father and son, and they've had success in that in series that we've been commentating on earlier in the year.
Got that yellow flag out then at the end of the lap.
Yeah, that car they put off is the ex-Townsend, Bell, Maurizio Mediani, Jeff Siegel and Bill Sweedler car run by Keep Europe, which is another on these giant conglomerates that run I think at some meetings we've been at, I think they were planning to bring 30 different cars down here to keep Europe. So I was speaking to somebody the other day, a young mechanic, he said, I really like historic racing. I said, well, work in it. Don't try and chase a modern racing team. Get yourself involved in historic racing. It is huge growth. And just a couple of days ago, we had an announcement that Le Mans Classic Group under Peter Auto have taken another historic category under its ring, but changing second, not quite changing second, but still the Audi of Álvaro Parente, British Formula 3 champion 21 years ago. The Portuguese driver hangs on, but I said my money is on Jonathan Mitchell.
He did have enough of a challenge to make Álvaro go defensively there. Back down to the pit lane, and another Aston in trouble.
Yes, I am with Janos Santa and the 94 Aston Martin stopped in the pit lane. Well, Janos, the question is, what is the problem?
So actually, I've seen a message on the dashboard, a low gearbox pressure, so I immediately came to the pit, and hopefully we can, fix that, and then I can continue. Otherwise, I need to retire.
Ok, now you know the reason why this 94 Aston Martin is stopped. Voilà, vous connaissez maintenant la nature de problème rencontré par cette Aston Martin numéro 94. Et là, malheureusement, c'est vrai, l'arrêt se prolonge. Je crains que, malheureusement, la course ne soit déjà terminée pour elle, sauf démonstration du contraire, et ça fera toujours plaisir.
So, gearbox issues early for that car, Andrew?
I'm really impressed with the job that Neumann's doing, because he's an amateur driver. He's not one of the pros, but he's had a lot of experience racing these cars, but he's got a full-time job as well. And he's against some really terrific talent there. People that raced in Formula 3000 and so on. So I'm impressed by him.
Well, what he's doing is he's using, Bruce was talking earlier on about the different strengths of cars at different parts of the track. He's using the strength of that car to his advantage. It's maybe he and the car aren't as quick through the twisty bits, but he's making sure he's getting out, he's getting on the throttle through all those acceleration zones and using the torque of that big engine.
No, entirely so. He's very conversant with Mercedes, but obviously he's been racing them since 2022, and that wasn't the gull-wing door. He's been racing more modern AMG GT3 Mercedes, but the team Motorpark knows, Timo Rumpfkar's team knows things well. Well, good to see the 556 Ferrari made it back, but just interesting here, the Hungarian racer there, Janos Santa, that he's hopeful to get back out. Of course, this isn't the only race they have here. They've got one tomorrow afternoon, mid-afternoon. So there's a lot of racing to be had, and everybody wants to race at Le Mans. For an awful lot of these drivers, it's their very, very first occasion. So get it fixed, get back out.
Ultimately, will GT3 in this form, will it have to become a full plateau because it's got so much interest?
I think so. And in fact, when the announcements came through about just over a year ago that it would become a historic category, people suddenly remembered they had one in the cupboard at home. The value of these cars doubled overnight. And if you just happen to be someone who is a bit of a GT3 pervert in the nicest way possible, and you had a collection of them, you know, when things fall off, and a Mark VDS car of old, going back around this, leave the mics open. These always sound absolutely amazing.
That's that number 45, the Van Uyhuizen car again, that we think was involved right at the very beginning and done well to get out of the gravel there.
One of the things about the Van Uyhuizen car, this was bought when the drivers were still on the podium at Spa. The Van Uyhuizen said, can we have that one? We'll buy it off you, but they've kept it for the intervening years, and here it is entertaining.
Of course, the story about that car was it runs with a V8 engine. It was never offered with a V8 engine as a road car, so it had to be given a waiver, and all of the other manufacturers were asked, and it had to be a unanimous decision by the manufacturers to allow it to compete. Never had the success it perhaps deserved, it, particularly the Nürburgring 24 hours. It always seemed to fall away during the night. But it did at Spa, which in those days was a far bigger GT3 race. And this battle for second place is fantastic. Jonathan Mitchell hasn't given up using all the power he can get from his V12 in the Vantage. But, he's not up against just anybody in Álvaro Parente. Our top driver, Portuguese biggest star since Pedro Lamy. And they are the reason
that Heiko Neumann is still in front is they can't get close to him because they're busy fighting. I really would be interested to see if Benjamin Ricci could get onto their tail as they fight, but he doesn't. He seems to have taken the best out of his tyres in that Ferrari in 4th place. He's falling away.
And just to finish the Z4 story, I spoke to a manufacturer in the States at the time. It was at Road America, and the cars were very quick at Road America, and one of the manufacturer representatives said, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have all said yes to that V8 engine. It wasn't the first time BMW had swapped a V8 into a car that didn't exist. They did it with the M3 in ALMS competition. They did. I remember Gerhard Berger showing us around the alleged road car that allowed them to fit that version of the V8 engine into the then M3 for competition, and it was Joe Bradley. We were all fawning over the carbon fibre and the raised rear end with no seats, and Bradley had his nose in the engine compartment and said, "This is a road car, is it?" And Gerhard, who was head of the mission at the time, said, yeah. Joe said, "Not get very far." Well, why not? It didn't have a radiator fan, so there was no chance of it actually really being one. There was no room for it. We are just coming down to about, in fact, we're just a little away from half distance.
Pit lane open, John.
Pit lane is now open, and we've got some takers already. Bruno is down in the pit lane, and with the number 80 Porsche, the Lion Speed 997 GT3R, and we'll get a word with him in just a moment. Driver change going on, and this looks like a standard stop for Timo Moll and the rest of the team. Let's go out down to Bruno and find out how the pit stops are coming along.
Et avec Jean-Luc Boblic, voilà, qui est descendu de la Ferrari numéro 87 et que l'on va retrouver Jean-Luc avec Jérôme Polican qui vous a relayé. Vous avez le sourire, ça fait plaisir à voir. Racontez-nous ce relais de départ.
Bah écoute, le hasard a fait qu'on s'est retrouvé en pôle suite à une pénalité. Donc écoute, moi je suis en tête du championnat, donc l'objectif c'est de ramener la voiture, ramener des points. Donc j'ai été un peu prudent, et puis c'est la première fois de ma vie que je cours sur le grand circuit, donc il y a quand même encore des appréhensions sur certains virages et certaines zones où je pense que je lâche un peu trop tôt, voilà.
Mais ceci étant, on imagine que ça a dû être magique. Regardez le ciel que l'on a, le soleil est au rendez-vous, le décor naturel, les pins, les hunaudières, ça doit être quelque chose d'exceptionnel.
Effectivement, c'est une sensation, quoi. Je veux dire, la première fois qu'on roule, t'es à 300 au milieu des arbres, c'est une vraie sensation, c'est un vrai plaisir. C'est un truc que j'espère beaucoup de gens pourront vivre.
I'm going to ask you one question in English, dear Jean-Luc, just to say congratulations for your stint with the car which was on pole position, and then how was it?
Yes, for me it's a surprise, but I make the maximum for Jerome and for the future. You like this championship, and I think we are first in this championship. It's very important for us.
Thank you very much, Jean-Luc Boblic with the number 87 Ferrari. Now, of course, the car is driven by Jérôme Polican.
And he made the point there, gentlemen, about the championship. There are still championship points to be scored here for those who are in the full season. It looked like Martin Wachter in the other Silo Racing Callaway Corvette. It's not been a good 20-odd minutes for but he was getting some race tape on the 1, 2, 3 left-hand front as they came in for their stop. The leaders have not yet stopped, Andrew.
No, Polican has dropped to 22nd. Obviously, he was the fastest man in practice. Interesting to see how far he can get the car up the field. But quick shout out for one of our leading British drivers, Nick Padmore. He's running just in the top 10 in that Audi. Nick, huge success in Formula One, historic Formula One cars. He's won the championship 3 times, the Thoroughbred Grand Prix Championship. So Nick's a guy to watch for. Will Nuttall's still up there, Dario's still up there, but most of the leaders are coming in. Mitchell is in already.
Yeah, that was the point I was about to make. You may notice 3 has become 2. So Jonathan Mitchell is tired of trying to pass the Audi that's in second place of Alvaro Parent. Could be a masterstroke from him. He's one of the drivers who's going solo, though, so no secondary driver getting into his car. There's the X-Von Ryan McLaren with that wonderful livery. It raced at the Baku street race long before the Grand Prix was in Azerbaijan, and it was a bit scratchy, but GT3 went across. Oh dear, this is the Von Neuenhausen car smoking away. You can see that
flat at
the flat at the left rear.
I suspect that was from the gravelly moment or the earlier contact, but that car was very sideways through the gravel. The livery of the Mark VDS still continuing in motorcycling for a while after they terminated their work on 4 wheels and success on 2 and 4 wheels.
When talking about VDS, we ought to point out it's the Van der Straten family team, and in the 60s in particular, and then into the 70s, they really put their name and money behind an awful lot of top-level racing. Single-seaters, tick. Sports cars, most definitely.
Formula 5000 was a big thing for them. There's a replay of that very gravelly moment, and that was the end result.
Yeah.
That left rear.
Tyres, Pirelli tyres going sideways through gravel, not recommended on that. Dario and Jonathan Mitchell have both done their pit stops and re-fired. That BMW had got up to the top 5 but had not yet stopped. Now here, this is a crucial point of the race. Alvaro Parent with a bit of damage actually on the right front of that car. That must have just happened. That was coming into the pit lane. He's hit the back of the leader.
Oh!
He's absolutely nailed the leader coming into the pit lane. Oh my goodness
Let's
me.
put the leader out, I'm sure.
Well, he hasn't come into the pit lane. The motor park, Heiko Neumann, has just now come into the pits, but with damage to the left rear and absolutely nailed as they were coming into the slow zone for the pit lane.
Surely Perrin get a big penalty for that.
Well,
I think this going all the way of Jonathan Mitchell now, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, that is really quite heavy damage to the back. But you know what, I'm about to say something that's really sort of counterculture. That was Parent being a professional. He was using the last inch of racing at the speed he could. And unfortunately, Heiko Neumann just being a little bit cautious. You know, the blame is totally attached to Parent there. But, you know, sometimes you have to slightly change the chip you've got.
Don't forget as well that you're going to keep these Pirelli tyres on all the way through. Actually, are they running on Pirellis? I was looking at them the other day. Actually, they've got the old Pirelli stickers on.
Yeah, they are
from the time. But the sidewalls, I'll have another look actually. But they are going to keep these racing tyres on all the way through the race. It's not as if you can absolutely rip in and then jump on the, I was going to say the middle pedal there, the brake pedal, 2-pedal cars for the most part. So this is going to be absolutely grist to the mill for the Aston Martin V12 Scott Sport Jonathan Mitchell car. Also having completed their pit stop is the Barwell Motorsports Z4, the number 79, Peter Molsdale in that car. Let's keep an eye out for that one. And Eric Debard for the Debard Automobile Maytech, the Ford GT. Now they've all made their pit stop. Out goes the, oh no, I'm not sure that was, out goes the AMG. Meantime, side-by-side action, the delayed Ferrari from earlier on that was in the wall. That's the 556 Erwin France Equipe Europe car. And now, which Porsche is that he's gone through? That I think was that's one of the triple numbered cars, so it'll be the 997, won't it? The 911 rather, the Speed Motor Sport Management, the Christian Kuhn 997 GT3R.
And all this has put Ben Rickey into the lead from Mitchell. But he may be still, he's on his outlap.
Yeah,
on the 123 Corvette has gone round.
You just don't want to be driving a Corvette today, do you?
That's a Tony Seiler car. It's one of Tony Seiler's
cars. That's the Vactor car, Martin Vactor car that had some damage to the left front already. We saw that getting taped up in the pit lane, and the Spider-Man 2 car's just gone past it.
Yeah, that's Dr. Afshin Fatemi. Absolutely fantastic race delivery on that, and Our German doctor
plastic surgeon, indeed.
Exactly, has a fantastic stable of cars. But I love these cars that have commemorative liveries and commemoration that lives on. And for Dr. Afshin, for a lot of these drivers, it's their first chance to really step up and drive a modern car. Because though this is a historic series, you know, compared to what they've been racing in the past, this is something very new. A lot of them are really getting to rather like it, I think.
Yeah, you've got Polycant out there now who's done Le Mans 13 times, and somebody like Jonathan Mitchell, I'm sure he hasn't been here before, so he's finding what a magnificent track it is.
Ricci is leading.
Yes.
Ricci is leading in the Ferrari as he comes to the Mulsanne right-hander, all resurfaced before the 24-hour race this year, that run down to that point of the circuit. And I reckon he's got about 9 seconds on Jonathan Mitchell in the Aston in second. It'll be a toss-up, I reckon, as to whether Heiko Neumann and the damaged Mercedes that was going so well earlier on, he has done a sub-4-minute lap, and there's only a couple of cars out there that have, him and Alvaro Parent actually, who are having the battle for the lead. That car has not rejoined. Actually, neither is Dario Franchitti's. That car was shown. No, he's gone round and come back in again. Dario, he was definitely out on the track. So that's an issue for Dario. Right, back down to the pit lane, and Bruno.
Yes, I am with Mark Cole, who was ready to drive the number 47 Audi. But unfortunately, Mark, welcome to you. Alvaro Parente had a contact with the Mercedes. Unfortunately, game over for this morning.
Yeah, it's very sad, really. Alvaro did a fantastic job. Obviously, he's a world-class driver, and it looks like there's been some contact between him and the Mercedes. I don't know the details behind it yet. But unfortunately, I was about to hop in the car to drive, and they've did too much damage, so I won't get to do the same. We were out, basically. It's a shame. But Alvaro did a great job while it lasted, yeah.
Yes, as you say, it's a shame because the car is great, the performance is here, and I should say that the weather conditions were ideal this morning to drive on the Le Mans racetrack.
You're absolutely right. It's a great temperature, early morning, good for lap times. For myself, I've only ever driven 6 laps of this circuit ever in my life, so I was looking forward to the second stint, but hey-ho, we have the speed, but we're out now, and that's not good for the championship.
Thank you, Mark. I hope that the weekend is not finished for you yet. It's only Saturday morning, but I invite you to come with me and look at the damages at the front of this Audi, the consequences of the contact with the Mercedes.
It's interesting, it's bodywork damage, but obviously, you know, they're not going to replace that in the pit lane. Again, championship mentioned for this car. Unlike a Porsche that has the radiators, the cars of this era has the radiators in the front. The Audi's actually in the radiators in the middle. So I don't think that's anything other than cosmetic, but just too much damage there, Andrew, to get it back out on the track.
Absolutely right. What I'm watching, though, is Jonathan Mitchell is closing in on the leader. He's taking second and a half a lap now out of Ricky. So interesting to see when he closes up. The gap it was 8 seconds, now 6.3.
And it's down to under 14 minutes to go. Good morning if you are joining us at the first ever Le Mans Classic Legend here at the Le Mans circuit. 2026 bringing us something brand new and rather appropriate, Bruce Jones, that we're kicking off with the newest cars that have been brought into this Le Mans Classic Legend fold. Cars that until just a couple of years ago, of course, weren't eligible for the full 24 hours. We saw them on the road to Le Mans and the Michelin Le Mans Cup, Bruce. There were questions, and I have to put my hand up and say I wondered whether the GT3s of 2 or 3 years ago would be up to the job of the 24 hours, but my goodness, they've added something, and absolutely right that these cars now should be brought into the Classic fold.
Yeah, no, entirely. I've always been a big fan of GT3. I know we've been almost in opposing ends of the spectrum, but what I love is now seeing cars that really, was it that long ago? Just seeing the Black Bull liveried Barwell Motorsport entered BMW British GT Championship winning car not so long ago. I remember being at Goodwood and talking to Ollie Bright. He said, that was my car. I raced a car that is now a historic car. He seemed distraught. But anyhow, there it is. And Peter Mulsdale's going very nicely in 4th place overall. In fact, what we have at the moment is cars from the AM category, because they had the shorter pit stops, all compared to the Pram cars, running in the first 5 positions. So it's Ben Ricci being caught all the time by Jonathan Mitchell. Heiko Neumann, who led the early stages in his, so we're looking at it now, the slightly battered tail end of his car. Remember, that was whacked by Alvo Parent. That's in 3rd place. But Peter Mulsdale is catching in 4th in his BMW.
It's still going well for Heiko because he's still under 4 minutes. And anything under 4 minutes for cars of this balance of performance is actually hauling the mail quite a bit. And the gap at the front of the field, by the way, is down now to 5.5 seconds. The aerodynamics on Heiko Neumann's car will not be brilliant at the back of that car. The Ford Maytech in 5th position is the AM1 entry. That's the Eric Debard car, the number 20 Ford GT Maytech. And again, like the Callaway Corvettes, Ford weren't really sure about whether they should do it, and therefore customers were signed off to be able to produce the cars for racing. Well, we've got a couple of real characters down in the pit lane that we're going to go to in a moment or two, because we've got Joe Macari and Dario Franchitti standing by. We'll head down there in a moment, but we're keeping an eye on the battle for the lead, Andrew.
We had one very good performance by the Ford GT in the main Le Mans 24 Hours with the Robinson family.
Yep, won the class.
Yep.
But that wasn't a GT3 car.
No, that wasn't a GT3.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was one of the previous iterations.
It was the main GT car.
Yeah, that was husband and wife team, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Yeah, they did a superb job. David Murray drove for them.
One essence of GT3 that needs to be pointed out. These are road cars that are made into racing cars. That was the reason behind GT3.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a few times it's a bit sniffy. Oh dear, we've got a spinner coming. Oh, it doesn't quite complete a lap. Couldn't tell you which car it was that looped around. Was it one of the Maytechs? No, it wasn't.
No, that's
Jonathan Mitchell,
that's
who's
Jonathan
chasing.
Mitchell.
That's the second fastest lap of the race last time. He got the gap down to 5 seconds, and he suddenly, he's dropped 9 or 10 seconds and more.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Pushing too hard.
Yeah, easy, just lit up the back tyres, traction control on these cars. I did actually commentate for Nissan on the very first GT3 race at Silverstone. No Nissans here, actually, which is a bit of a disappointment, and no Bentleys either, but I'm sure they're out there. Right, Dario and Joe have done hair and makeup, as has Bruno, so let's hear from the 3 characters in the pit lane.
With Dario Franchitti and Joe Macari. Gentlemen, it's a pleasure to see you, but unfortunately, if you are here, it's because the race is finished. Dario, what happened exactly?
There was an electrical problem, I think. It looked like it was a misfire or something when Joe got in the car. After the pit stop, he did 1 lap, and the speed was getting slower and slower and slower, so he brought it in, which was a shame because it was having good fun.
Joey, this weekend we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the creation of the GT3. Very important to say that GT3 is 20 years old. How do you explain the success of the GT3 class?
I mean, I remember when GT3 was born. This is really sad, I'm that old. And it was magnificent. From day one, GT3, people could understand it. It resembled the car that they could go and buy in the showroom. And I think it's fantastic to have it, revival of this car again. And I think it just shows that the grids are nearly full for this car, where the other cars are struggling a little bit, because it is the future.
Thank you, Joey. Dario, if it's a shame, of course, because for you this morning the race is finished. Nevertheless, it's always magic to be at Le Mans.
Yeah, this is my second time here, sharing with Joe in the 458, but also the MC12 this evening, which I'm really looking forward to. To drive at Le Mans in the night last night was a very, very special thing for me. And then we're going to do the parade later on with the Gordon Murray cars and introduce the Le Mans GTR to Le Mans.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and enjoy this weekend with Le Mans Classic legend.
Joe, massive classic car dealer in London and loves his racing. We see him a lot in the Le Mans Classic series. Makes an excellent point there, gentlemen, that originally GT3s and then subsequently GT4s were built they started lives as road cars. Even within the life of this plateau, the move, Bruce, to more specialist racing cars has already started to happen, to the point now where GT3 cars have never been a road car. They're built specifically as racing cars.
Yeah, but they are derived. That is the very essence. But effectively now, the contemporary GT4 cars are pretty much the pace the GT3 cars were in 2006. When that is the essence of racing. But you can't evolve your car. You can go to an Evo model when the manufacturer decrees. And one of the essences, as we've got Ford on Ferrari at Le Mans. Hold on, heard that before. That's Eric Debar being passed by who? Jerome Pollincon. That moves Jerome up to 5th place. Remember, that car started on pole. He put it on pole. Jean-Luc Beaubelique fell down to about 13th. But what he did, he pitted as early as possible to allow Jerome the maximum time. And Jerome, you know, he might run a really... No, he doesn't. It's not might. He runs a very, very successful racing team. Not just in GT3, of course. We see him in the World Endurance Championship as well. But he loves his racing. And that's going to be the story. He's leading the class. But, you know, my tip for victory, Jonathan Mitchell has blotted his copybook. He'd almost halved the lead. Ben Ritchie had time in hand. The clock is down only with 7 minutes remaining. So I don't think Jonathan's going to haul it back, which will frustrate him. But it's 2 races here at Le Mans. So, again, as you pointed out, Andrew, aggregate across the pair.
Indeed, yes. But Joe did the full race, the 24 hours, many years ago. Who did he do it with? Adrian Newey. Yeah, Adrian ticked a box there.
Yeah,
I think they retired in the end. They were in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
So
just
well connected. That massive showroom, Joe Macari's place, just off the South Circular Road in London.
Yeah, just towards Wimbledon, a place called Earlsfield. And I remember when it had its original iteration, I thought that's a large garage. Nothing in comparison to the concrete and glass edifice they have now. Huge.
And if you're very fortunate, and I've been down there a couple of times for various events, including originally we did the launch of the Hertz team called the Porsche there, and Joe took me round the workshops, and the workshops are even more exciting to me than the showroom. Right, out at the front of the field, Jonathan Mitchell is still pushing on that mid-blue 007 Aston Martin, but he's taking time out of the leader, but it's not going to be enough now with just probably this lap and one more to go.
Yeah, the visual is there. Wait, the Ferrari will have come over the crest. He's going to pick off, looks like it's one of the slightly battered... well, no, it's not. It's a Ferrari yellow and black one that seems to be pulling off the circuit. Actually, looks like we've got someone who's limping and is about to pull off. But Jonathan Mitchell, all he can do is press on, try not to spin. Remember, it's 2 races here at Le Mans. He does have the pace. He's a person who does something with money in the City of London, but he is supreme in these and also Jaguar E-Type. So certainly Andrew and I have watched him over the years having great success. Oh dear, the old Fine Ran Racing McLaren with that fabulous livery is going nowhere fast. Ex-Rob Bath car, and a certain Bruno Senna raced this in period.
Just a little correction. They're not aggregating these two.
Oh, they're not?
They're separate races.
Okay, got you, thank you.
Yeah.
So wherever in the world you are watching on the Peter Auto YouTube channel, live with no interruptions. We'll go through till lunchtime today, then we'll be back at around about just before 4 o'clock actually in the afternoon on the English feed, with all of the build up to the 4 o'clock start. Classic time for Le Mans, 20 minutes before 4 later on today, and then we'll take you through to a little before 8 o'clock tonight, or 7:30 tonight, should I say. And then tomorrow back on the air at about the same time as we were this morning, bright and early, 9 o'clock Central European summertime, and going all the way through till about 3:30 in the afternoon. So stay with us for as much as you can. I know there's a lot of motorsport going on this weekend, but there will be far more excitement and far more variety than most of the other stuff that you could watch this weekend. We've got a couple of minutes left. Let's go back down to the pit lane.
Andrew Jamison with unfortunately the 77 McLaren, which is stopped in the pit lane. The car was 20th position on the starting grid. What's happening?
Don't know. Match just got out. We had a bit of an oil pressure issue when I was driving it, and don't know. We topped up with oil. Don't know.
It's a shame because the performance
we're up to 6, so fantastic.
It's a shame because the car was good during the qualifying session.
It was brilliant. In the first stint, we were going through the field nicely, but that's life, I guess. Unfortunate.
Unfortunately. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Leader is on the last lap, I reckon. Yeah, coming down to the second chicane, the first chicane, the Daytona chicane now for the historic and race cars, Ferrari 458.
No surprises up there, really. The first round of this new Legend Series here in Europe, Paul Ricard in April, he was the clear winner. So he's got the speed, no question about. I don't know his history really prior to that. GT racing in France mainly, I think.
Oh yeah, no, the European series, but mainly the French series. But the Ricci family, almost always with ASP, they've done. They're just really invested in it. But
do you think it's the son of Jean-Louis Ricci who raced a lot?
No, of Maurice.
Oh right, okay.
3:58.9 is the fastest lap of anyone. That was Jonathan Mitchell a couple of laps ago. He's lapping in the 4 minutes now. Dario and Alvaro Perrin also did sub 4 minute laps. Now, those of you who have watched racing round Le Mans for any period of time will know a GT lap sub 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Even in the GT1 days, that was considered pretty healthy. So that gives you the idea of how well these cars are going. So leader on the last lap now, coming back towards the Porsche curves.
Suddenly been a problem for Jonathan Mitchell. He was 14 seconds down in one sector alone. He squandered 14 seconds, so he's about to be maybe overtaken by Heiko Neumann.
Yeah,
can't tell you what's happened. Didn't see what happened.
Through.
Has there been another rotation? Can't tell you.
Mercedes-Benz has gone through back into second, 30 seconds away from the leader. They are in the AM2 category, so first, second, third and fourth are all AM2. Jerome Policont now only 9 seconds behind Peter Molsdale in that Barwell Z4. That's a battle for overall position, but not class position. Eric Debar in the Ford GT Maytech in 6th is leading, and
that's Pierre Hirschi's car that was having a rodeo ride earlier in the race going through Tete Rouge.
Eric Debar in 6th leads the AM1 category as the leader with 12 seconds on the clock. The checkered flag, the first checkered flag of the weekend, is being readied. Well, what a brilliant start. We had some cracking racing in the early laps. Little bit of mechanical frailty from these earlier GT3 cars. But great racing, fast times, and we've got another race to come from the GT3 revival as the clock has run down. And the first race of Le Mans Classic Legend ever here in 2026. The black and white checkered flag is waved for Ferrari. Ferrari wins at Le Mans. It's something we've been saying a lot in the last few years. And the historic and race car team will take the victory. A good comeback from Heiko Neumann after damage and a very slow entry. Lost a lot of time for the Team Motor Park. Mercedes-Benz SLS in second place. There he goes across the line. It'll be Jonathan Mitchell who comes home in third.
Not necessarily, because he's really, really slowing at the moment. He's dropped another. I thought he'd had a spin in the middle section. Nothing. He's squandered about 30 seconds on this lap alone. Maybe Peter Molsdale might come through. Second place. No, Mitchell makes it home in third. And then Molsdale in the Barwell Motorsport BMW will be coming home in fourth place. But I don't know what happened to Mitchell. Was it a puncture? I do not know.
I think he might have been short of fuel, Bruce, actually.
Well, possibility of that, yeah.
Here comes the BMW, the black and blue machine. and that is the 4th place AM2 runner waiting for Jeroen. 4th place AM2 car. Jeroen Policon will take Pro AM2.
He's in the background of the shot. He's catching, but not get to overhaul the BMW that took 4th place. Peter Molsdale beats Jeroen Policon, but good aggregates. Remember, we heard from teammate Jean-Luc Bobelic saying it's about the championship.
Of course it
started on pole, dropped down, but 5th place, that's points in the bag.
And class winner. It's amazing how stock, actually, that 458 GT3, and that was the Evo. That doesn't look as much a race car as the current Ferrari Challenge cars do. It's incredible. Of course, that 458 was built to be a race car for the 499 rather built to be a race car for.
One thing we should have mentioned, the man who invented this series was in the race, Stefan Rattel.
Yeah.
He finished 18th.
Yeah, gone through and won his class.
Yeah.
In the AM1 class for Barwell in the DBR S9, the earlier version of the Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's worth explaining we've got 2 generations in each of the categories, AM and Pro-Am. If it says AM1, they're the older ones.
Correct.
AM2, I think, was 2013 onwards. But for Stefan, he loves these cars. He gets out as much as he can. He has a real stable. But an Aston Martin DBR 9, I think he'll have loved that. That was the one with the Luke Oil race livery. But he'll be racing again tomorrow afternoon.
Just looking for any other of the class winners. Stefan Rattel, yeah. He won his class. Martin Vactor is listed as a class leader as well. Oh, no, he's not. Sorry, my apologies. 4th in his class.
Yeah, there are no Pro-Am 1 runners. We've got AM1, AM2,
yes,
and
correct.
Pro-Am 2.
Yeah, no other early cars. Didn't see, and Lindsay Brewer had a problem early on, did ear lap, as did Jeff Smith. Didn't see Marcus Anderson, Frank Labichat or Michel Nouri in their cars. They didn't get to the start, didn't get to the bottom of that. We'll try and find out in the meantime. However, it is a win for Ferrari ahead of Mercedes and Aston Martin in the overall. Bruno standing by down in the pit lane. I hope that's whetted your appetite for what we've got for you. Those cars out again throughout the weekend and absolutely doing what we expected of them in that first race of this Le Mans Classic Legend for 2026. Still some of the cars in the top 20 coming to the end of the race. This is Jeff Easlinghausen for Speed Motorsport, then Keith Fraser for Scott Speed coming across the line in the Lamborghini Gallardo. Philippe Gache for Sontlock Racing, still racing Audis. Sontlock and Spark Motorsport Porsche to come through with Jean Legrasse. Here they come.
Yeah.
One thing I'd just like to point out, the very essence of GT3 racing is attracting as many manufacturers as you possibly can. How's this? 8 different manufacturers in the top 9 positions. Tick that box.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. So let's head down to Bruno for some of the stories for that race, and then we'll give you the full results.
Et le plaisir, sincèrement, de retrouver Philippe Gache, qui voilà, était effectivement à l'arrivée. Philippe, ça fait vraiment très plaisir de vous retrouver au Mans. Tout d'abord, disons-le, la dernière fois que vous étiez venu ici, ça nous ramène à 2002, c'est cela?
2002, c'est ça, il y a juste 24 ans.
Et alors, ça fait quoi de retrouver Le Mans à l'occasion évidemment de Le Mans Classic Legend et de la course du GT3 Revival?
Ça m'a fait vraiment plaisir. Je ne m'attendais pas à être ému à ce point, franchement. C'est peu une machine à remonter le temps. Quand j'ai pris la course hier, donc je n'avais pas mis les pieds ici depuis si longtemps, et j'avais l'impression que c'était hier. Et c'était génial. Ça m'a rappelé trop de souvenirs fantastiques.
Vous étiez avec Daniel Desbruyères, en effet, avec une Audi R8. C'est comment ce genre de voiture à piloter sur ce circuit?
Alors il y a un côté un peu paradoxal pour moi, puisqu'il m'a fallu faire le Mans Classique pour conduire une voiture 10 ans plus moderne que ma dernière participation. Donc c'est génial, hein, c'est une auto sophistiquée, ça fait des temps proches de 4 minutes 0, donc c'est déjà un beau rythme pour rouler ici. Et puis, il y a beaucoup de bons pilotes, il y a un niveau compact, il y a de la bagarre. Je me suis vraiment régalé, quoi.
Vous êtes capable de changer quelque chose là au niveau de votre programme de pilote à court terme, revenir davantage sur les circuits? Vous n'êtes jamais très très loin des pistes, mais ça peut changer quelque chose?
Non, ça donne envie de revenir, c'est sûr, parce que bon, on se rend compte qu'on y arrive encore et qu'on prend surtout autant de plaisir. Je dirais même plus de plaisir qu'avant, parce que moi, quand je participais au Mans, j'avais en charge de la conduite, mais aussi l'organisation de l'équipe, beaucoup de pression qui t'empêche souvent de prendre du plaisir. Là, tout ça, ça y est pas, il ne reste plus que le plaisir. Donc c'est vraiment sympa, quoi.
One word with you in English, Philippe Gache. It's good to see you back on the Le Mans racetrack this morning. Last time it was in 2002, quite a long time ago.
Yes, a long time ago, but it seems to be yesterday for me.
Merci beaucoup Philippe Gache, dont on rappellera d'ailleurs qu'il était aussi venu tourner le rôle de Michel Vaillant ou de Steve Warson à l'époque où effectivement le héros de bande dessinée a été porté au cinéma. Il en était.
Yeah, big French motorsport hero. Philippe Gache done Le Mans about 10 times. Did Paris-Dakar Rally a lot of times too.
Mad fool.
Yeah, absolutely. But, and also was a Formula 3000 competitor, if you remember.
Yeah, that's what...
I think he was a French Formula 4 champion about 40 years ago.
Well, that would have
Here's
been
the results anyway up on the screen.
Victory by 26 seconds. Remember, Jonathan Mitchell was closing in. One rotation lost him half the time he gained back, and then something on that final lap dropped him down to third behind Heiko Neumann. So unfortunate at the end, but really Benjamin Ricci ran very, very nicely indeed at the front of the field.
Our result said he had a co-driver, but that's not correct.
No, because Bobalik was sharing with Jerome Policon, so a bit of a mix-up. But Peter Molsdale, fourth place in his BMW. Jerome Policon, who shared with the pole starter Bobalik, coming home in fifth overall. Better of the Fords, Eric de Baar went very nicely to come home in sixth place, was gaining ground late on. Now, we had a few fallers and a few little clashes, but they'll all be back out again tomorrow. Remember, we started with 41 cars, which is really fantastic. And this modern iteration, Le Mans Classic Legends, this is for the more modern cars. And it has been a really good rolling start to that overall. But let us take a look back at the highlights of the first of the GT3 Revival races.
It's a beautiful day with a little bit of breeze coming in across the front straight, but not enough to talk about. Not even the F1 guys would be worried about that behind them at the moment. Taking downforce off the rear wings. Good to have your company wherever you are in the world here on the official Peter Auto YouTube channel. And we are setting up for a brilliant weekend on this